Randomly with Ronnie Jr.
All right, it's that time. We are chatting with JCP, that is Jade Catta-PRETA, comedian, writer, television host. How else do you define the situation at hand, Jade? Talk to me. White Claw princess and White Claw lover. She's heavy with the
not just princess. I said quarantine princess. I'm not just like a princess. You know what I mean? I feel like Zumba specialist.
Okay.
Part of my thing now, and crier. I do a lot of crying. I'm good at that. I love yoga.
Yeah. You're busy. I was a little bit worried about that too. I was like, I'm kind of mellow, analytical and all that stuff, but I don't move fast like you. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got to match her energy, which was worrying me a little, but I feel confident now. The thing about Jade is we just did an interview quite recently, and I'll put the link to that if you'd like to check it out, which is really good. But I've talked about her and with her so much, so I know a lot of the stories. I know about the tougher times when she wasn't really making money, but she still hired somebody to go to Brazil and do a comedy, a round of comic shows out there and documented it. So Jade's got a great story. I'll put the link so you can check that out, an interview we just did. But I just wanted to chat with you generally about pop culture stuff and just where you're at, how you're feeling, and even the status, I would say, of this great show, the Soup, and what that's done for your confidence. You know what I mean? I think it's just such a big moment, and I see that you're having a good time with it as well.
Yeah, it's so funny because of course I feel like the sadness and like the collective anxiety and the fear and all the stuff, and for everybody who's going through it. But I have to admit, there's also like this strange calmness that this is bringing me. I've never really had a slowdown like this, like for a long time. And so I think I kind of needed it. And it's been nice to just like every day have a little bit of a slower rhythm and just like kind of be with myself. And I don't know, I think that I'm kind of developing like some self-worth that I never had before. I think we're so used to having validation from the outside world, and it's nice to kind of have that for yourself. And I don't know, I'm kind of taking it day by day.
Yeah, I think you definitely need to turn off the noise. I think some of the greatest entertainers, whatever it is, singing, acting, comedy, those moments where things were a little bit on a lull, which is hard for people, is still a really good experience. And it's at that moment when you say one of two things. What am I doing where I can make better decisions? Or you hit on the confidence side and be like, I'm doing everything right. Like you get a chance to evaluate that. And a lot of times the performer types are forced to always be so optimistic and like sell their best selves. So I really like this time for you. And I like this time for me too. The times I've slowed down as well. Comedy, I've spoke with you recently, but yeah. I just want to know those early stages of like, I want to do comedy. And I believe you were sort of influenced initially because it wasn't your first thing, but yeah. you end up, working as a bartender, I guess, and you see comics and then suddenly you become
when I started working at the Comedy Store that first night, I had already done a couple open mics. So okay. I just kind of got into that open mic. My first show was a bringer show. It was this woman named Crazy Cindy. She was just this like spazzed out, curly haired, like ex-drug addict woman who ran the show in the belly room. And she was like actually pretty lovely. And she would put me up. And a bringer show means like if you bring people, you can get
right.
up. So oftentimes like people are not as good on those shows because they're very new and like, but it's a great way to develop, if you're brand new, to like be on a real show versus an open mic. And so, yeah, those belly room spots are very dear to my heart because that's the room where I started. Like, I remember just like feeling my heart beating out of my chest. And like, I think with stand up, it's like with any kind of form of performance, like that first time you do it, it's such a rush. It's so overwhelming. The adrenaline that you get, that you always you chase that dragon like for the rest of your career. Like you're trying to get to that first moment. So I'm very grateful that I got to have it there.
I feel a bit inspired by you in a certain way because the recent time that we chatted, we had even just like talked about like, oh, maybe if I were to ever do comedy. And I was telling you how I was so nervous and terrified of just even the idea. Not that I didn't take several improv classes, not that I haven't spent nearly 20 years doing radio and that type of thing, but comedy just seems so nerve-wracking. But when I talked with you, you said, wait a minute, Ronnie, it's therapeutic. Like you had said that if you're not on that stage, you kind of like people could tell. People could tell you've got a bit of an anxiousness about I want to be back on stage, which I think that's freaking awesome. Why is the stage so damn intriguing other than maybe you're always chasing that initial feeling?
Yeah, well, I started to think about this a lot because, you know, so many people are creating like all this content from home and like on Twitter, like all day writing jokes, like trying to beat each other to like jokes. And I started to feel like, why am I doing this? Like, do I do any of this for me, or is this always for other people? Like, am I doing this? Is this validation like even for me? And I started to kind of understand in the past few days that doing stand-up for me is really about like connecting to people and feeling like making people feel comfortable. And I hate to quote like Jim Carrey on this, but he had this documentary he just came out with. And for a long time, he would be like, why do people see stand-up? Like, why do they go to see stand-up? Why do the people love comedy so much? And it's because they want to be free of their worries. Like they want to forget their worries. And so that's like why I love comedy. I like to like just for a split second, make people forget their worries and just like be really in the moment and connected with me. And like, I want to be feeling like we're all in it together. Like it's an orgy laughter.
Yes.
And so I think that's what I miss. I miss feeling connected to people. And I feel like that, you know, during the quarantine, you really get to like figure out who you want to be with and like who you want to see and like who's really important to you. So that's been cool too.
For sure. I think that comedy live is there's not many other experiences that are the same. I would say maybe, you know, doing you know, a show on Broadway, you know, live theater.
I got dreams.
Very similar, but I think what is so interesting about the comedy is that, oh, you said big dreams? This is a time to speak everything into existence. We know that. But I've always said it like this, like if you're an actor, of course you have to get down and you have to do the work and you have to, you know, make, you know, a great movie and, you know, partake in your role and all that stuff. But there's and same with music, but there are times, and anything really, but there are times, Jade, where you will be maybe not at your best as that performer, but because you sort of already have the adulation and the name, like there'll be artists and talent that I enjoy, and I know it's not their best project, but I'm gonna like it just because it's them. You know, there's a little bit of that shield. But let me tell you why I've always said stand-up is so challenging is there's no shield. I can remember in the early 2000s, like going to, Kevin Hart had a show, I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, and he was the host. I think Guy Torry or Joe Torry were the headliners. So Kevin was not even the big guy. I remember one particular time that we had went, because a couple of radio friends, we would go quite frequently. And then one day, as you know, from being out in Hollywood and going to these events, Chris Rock comes in and it's a complete surprise.
Right.
We're all shocked. And I remember feeling this feeling, Jade, where I said, oh my gosh, he's the guy. He's so funny. We watched so many of his movies and television. But then I said, oh, he has to perform. Regardless of the adulation we've already built internally, like he still has to rock the stage. And it was a really special moment as far as me respecting comedians, because I remember he was making a lot of jokes where he's like, all right, I'm just kind of here because I'm hosting maybe the Oscars or Golden Globes. I can't recall which one it was. And then he made like little, you know, innuendos about like, this ain't the Oscar version. You're gonna get the real, you know. Yeah. Comedy clubs are dark and dingy sometimes. It was a really cool experience, and that from that point is why I've always been so. I highly respect what you guys do, because I don't imagine it to be easy by any form. Jade, can you tell me, is there a difference though when it comes to female comics? It just.
Are you gonna ask me that question? Like, yeah, I have pussy.
You do, yes.
Yeah, and it's like when I do stand-up, she's there.
I'm sure you have a name for it. But you know what?
I'm sorry, I hate the like, what's it like to be a female comic? It's
well, that's what I said. No, typically no. Typically not really where I'm gonna go cliche or whatever. But where I am going is, it seems like in order to thrive, sometimes you have to be like a certain version, where I feel like the males kind of can go different routes, you know what I mean? You could be clean cut, polished, dirty, vulgar, etc. But I always feel like the women that shine and pop, am I wrong in that? assumption? It seems
Yeah,
like
I think I don't see it as like female male. Like I see it as like you're funny or you're not. Like people either relate to you or they don't. Like I I don't know. I think you have to find your lane, whoever you are. Obviously, it's harder to be like a male comic right now because it's so saturated and it's the cancel culture and all that stuff. But like I've never felt like, well, if I was, I mean, I guess I have. I have felt like it's a boys club a little bit, but like if you're undeniable, like there's nothing they can do,
right.
you know?
Okay.
So I
Fair
just
enough.
kind of like stride for that versus being like, I don't think of it as a shortcoming. Like I think of
Yeah.
it as an advantage. Like I talk about my life in a different way. I live my life in a different way than a guy does. So I think that would be interesting to people to just hear about how I live my life versus like me trying to be like my dick, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, no. Yeah. All right. Can we talk about the
Don't
fascination?
tell anybody.
I will not tell anybody. This is between you and I and YouTube.
Remember that interview when you found out that I had a dick?
Yeah, I remember. That was an exclusive. No, we are not making jokes of any sort. Jade, I want to ask you, because I fail in the version of like being really dominant on social media. I'm kind of a little in the older crowd where I'm like, no, social media. But I feel like for you, that has been something that is creative for you and sort of helped the career as well. So talk to me about just like why you enjoy it, or do you just like not care and are just like,
No, I like it. I feel like it's like a fun way to feel connected and like part of a community. And it's a nice way to express yourself like on a daily basis and to kind of explore and feel connected to the rest of the world. And now more than ever, I mean, social media has been like such an outlet for everybody, I think. I don't think that it's like necessarily helped me, but it's been cool because of all the international stuff that's happening with the soup. Like I've gotten to communicate with fans that are not close by, and like that in itself is like mind blowing. It's so exciting. And so, yeah, I love it. It's a way that we can all keep together.
I like it. Your actions indirectly have been like, after I interviewed you and then I see what you post, I'm like, oh, I feel like really connected to her. So I do get it. And I am
Yeah.
dropping that older, mentality. And, I know I'm not the only one, but I'm trying my best. I'm learning TikTok. I know that sounds super old, but it is what it is.
I don't really know how to use it. Like there was a seminar today. I almost took it. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, should I take this TikTok seminar?
Yeah. I want to talk about your like ingenuity a little bit. So, talk about your experience with the Soup, but then also like, I believe you have one of your best friends who I believe created there's a dance show on the channel as well.
Yeah.
So it feels like the channel, of course they have Kardashians, but it feels like the channel is just like throwing a lot of really cool stuff out there and sort of I don't know if it's a rebrand or whatever, but you're part of it. And I believe one of your best friends, I'm not sure if she's a comic.
Yeah, she is a comic. Yeah. So Justine Marino and Heidi and Justin are the three people who created the dance show. It's called the Funny Dance Show, and it used to be called Stand Up to the Streets in the Belly Room at the Comedy Store. It was like this crazy live show where comedians were like fighting, competing in dance. And it was like such like, people would go nuts. Like it was just the most exciting show. And it started to grow more and more every week when they had it. And then it was like undeniable. E had to do it. But we actually filmed that show a year and a half ago. That's a lot of people don't know that. And then E brought it in as part of this whole like new comedy hour, which I think is awesome. Like the execs are finally understanding like how on demand comedy is and how on demand females in comedy are, and like just pairing all those shows together, and Nightly Pop, which is great. I love Hunter and I love Morgan and Nina. And so it's been cool to like have our whole little family like on E, like the night that it was like my show premiered in Brazil the same night as the dance show, like my little heart like almost exploded. It's me and Justine have been doing stand-up comedy together for 12 years.
Yeah.
And she's one of my best friends. So just like to have that together is it's so exciting. It's a total dream. Yeah.
Your Instagram photos when you guys post like you with your cute little dog and her, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's another show. Like give them
I know, we need a reality show, Blair and Cheryl.
Yeah, your two lives. Can I ask you a question about talent? So I've always wondered, and you from personal account, what makes Nina so fantastic? She seems to always be booking, always being busy, and I don't know much of her story.
She's so good on her feet, and she's beautiful. Like she just looks so stunning on camera, and she's just so quick on her feet, and she like has a very specific point of view. I think that's the problem with a lot of people. Like they want to be comics and they want to be funny, but they don't have like opinions. And nobody wants to see someone kind of talk about something, you know, like we want people that have opinions. So I think that's why she's like such a dominant host in our industry, because she just really says it like it is, like she doesn't care, you know?
I hear that. And it's point of view is so important, I think, you know, especially where everyone's disseminating like, oh, here's the new story about, you know, Brad and Angelina or whatever it is. And I'm always, as somebody consuming that content, I'm always like, okay, cool. Give me the story, but also give me like, you know, an opinion, a point of view. So, okay, then that's what it is. I had always wondered, because I'm like, everywhere you look, Nina is always working.
Oh, great. She's really fun to work with. She's really sweet. And yeah, I mean, I didn't get to do Nightly Pop because I filled in for her. But just like the brief times that we've met, she just like has like a lot of like charisma to her.
There we go. Each channel's definitely making some great moves. JCP, Jade Catta-PRETA, you know, the soup, make sure you support it in every way you can, be it, you know, social media, because I feel like, you know, there's just so much movement around that show.
Yeah, and we're doing online. We have we made like a few, I think 10 of them or 12 homemade soups. So if people haven't checked them out, maybe you can link it. It's on the soup channel and on mine as well. And I'm really proud of them. I made them in my bedroom, just over there.
Yeah,
and this hair keeps falling. It's so annoying me. Like, why can't this hair be back?
Gotta keep it real.
Gotta keep it real, dude. This hair's crusty.
I don't know what I'm gonna do when I can't cut the sides of the, you know, the little sideburns that come out, but you know, it is what it is. And
giving it a break, you know, no makeup, no hair washing. Why do it?
Yeah, internally you gotta feel beautiful, I guess. So it is what it is. Jade, wrapping up shortly, just a couple fun like questions, because I always get real fascinated about people in their career. You know that. I always want these interviews to be very true Hollywood story meets behind the music. And again, I'll put a link to, I mean, me and Jay talked for like an hour, so I've already covered everything. But I do want to ask you, as I wrap up here, I want to ask you about, because the industry is peaks and valleys, and you know, the business could kind of weigh some people down. You know, you could be the most talented, but if you're not business savvy or know how to maintain your mental, that can be a problem. I want to find out from you, name 2 people that are doing it right. 2 people that you feel like, you know what, their career, they've had a long career. It can be short too, but and they make all the right moves. They take that time to not get lost in the sauce. I want to know who you think.
People, I love Chrissy Teigen. Like, she's one of my favorite celebrities. Like, I want to be just like her. She just speaks her mind. She doesn't give a shit. And she's really found like her niche and like the cooking and the mom stuff. And then also like, you know, lip sync battle and like having hosting gigs. And then also another one is like Pamela Adlon. I really look up to her. She was a voiceover actor many, many years and has been like on screen since like her teen years. But now she's also like directing and creating her own content, like her own show. And it's like really based on her life. And so that's kind of like my dream, is like my trajectory is that I have my own show or my own film that I get to be really involved in making and directing and stuff. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
No, that's definitely you. Like, I know right now, and every performer has that time where they just got to, you know, push it out and sort of be in the limelight. But I definitely see you being like, you know, still doing that as time goes by 10 years from now. But
I hope so.
No, there's no way you, in my opinion, are going to be in that desperate place where you're like, you're 10 years down the road and you're still trying to do just the same thing. I feel like bits and pieces.
Hey, why not? I'll take that too. I mean, I just want to be Joan Rivers, you know? That's all I want.
I always speak about how great she is just because of the career reinvention. You know, I remember growing up and she was like the red carpet gal, but then watching that documentary she had, sadly, a couple years before she passed.
I love that documentary. Oh, it's so good.
The queen of reinvention. And I often think about her still to this day. I often, when things get crazy and Twitter gets a little messy, I'm always like, I wish we could have a Joan Rivers take. Like, I just miss that so much. She was really one of a kind. She really was. Jade, last thoughts, and then I want to ask you my favorite question. I'm sure you probably already know what it is, but last thoughts or anything else you want to talk about before we...
Last thoughts, I just like, if anybody's watching this, like, just, we got this. Take day by day, you know, do things for yourself that you wouldn't do. Clean out your closet. Write your mom a letter. Yeah, watch old movies. Just keep yourself busy. Don't go nuts. Everything's going to be okay.
Only because I alluded to it earlier. You got a timeline of when you went to Brazil and did the documentary type thing? Is that something you'll We'll see.
Yeah, we actually now with the quarantine been playing around with like releasing a little bit of footage, maybe like teasing a little bit of it. But yeah, we're just kind of on a sit still trying to figure out content for the soup and stuff and what we can do from home. And
Yeah.
I think for now I'm just gonna taking it day by day, staying chill. There's nothing like I have an interview like in 2 days for like serious, and that's all I got. Like I'm just kind of
Yeah. Well, whenever it comes out,
yeah.
I want to see it, because when I talked with Jade previously, she stated that it was a time where I think your words, I didn't have the money, but I put it on a credit card and we just did it. So
Yeah, I'll send you actually, it's private, but I'll send you a trailer for you to watch.
hey, all right. I do want to do one shout out before I get to that last question, which is a colleague of mine, good friend of mine, Humberto Guida, who was doing. Yes, he was doing so much stand-up comedy at a certain stage, and then he's transitioned more to being the lead host on Latin Nation, as well as other shows on LATV Network. It's all very much the American Latino experience, and he's dominating over there. And so it was really refreshing when I chatted with you that you were like, oh yeah, me and Humberto, we're cool. And I always think that symbiotic energy helps with the interview. So we got to make sure we shout him out and give him his.
I know. I was just about to do an interview for him, like as the quarantine kind of happened, like we had it set up and everything. But Humberto and I were like, he was one of my first friends in LA. We had like a little sketch troupe. It was really stupid and we loved it. And so, oya papi.
Yeah.
Besos.
We got to take those moments to show the love. Okay, last question. You know what it is, probably. Okay. I always ask everyone to say something. What is their greatest or nice thing you could say about J-Lo? Because she is my queen. So give me some great J-Lo.
J-Lo, you know, Selena's my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it like 30 something times. It's like, that's her best performance she's ever had. Made in Manhattan too, don't get me started. But I actually just watched a live with her and Reese Witherspoon like a few days ago, and they were talking about Ryan Heffington's dance class, which is something I do almost on the daily. So that was exciting to know that me and Reese Witherspoon and J-Lo have the same workout routine.
All right. I like it. I always try to squeeze my J-Lo commentary in because
Love her. Yeah.
And you know, in this particular platform, I'm all about like, let's figure out what the inspiration is and let's keep these careers with longevity, because again, it's fun. It's great to talk on the radio. It's great to, you know, host the soup, but it is a business. So let's get down to the dirty stuff. Okay, Jade, that is it. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Bye.